Now to good time loop games. One that actually came out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Two and a bit years ago. That you just played now. I played back then, and I just replayed it this week to kind of remind myself of the smaller intricacies of it, of the story.
Oops. Yep.
Outer Wilds. What a game!
So yeah, just for some quick context on Outer Wilds, they announced a DLC. Where was it?
What's it called? Eye of
Eye of the Storm. I don't
Deep,
know.
is it? I'll look it up now. You carry
Echoes
on.
of the Eye. That's what it's called.
Echoes of the Eye.
So that was announced, and I thought, well, Outer Wilds is a 2019 game that I know got a lot of Game of the Year awards, and it's just something I never got around to playing. So that was, and then I went on leave as well. So I was like, well, this is just the best time to really sink my teeth into this game, because you said it's about depending, again, it's a time loop game, depending on how quick you figure things out, like 12 to 15 hour experience. So I was like, it's quite lengthy.
What was your playtime around there?
No, my playtime was about 22 to 23 hours.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, that was just me having a great time, messing around, doing a whole lot of things. But yeah, it's a time loop game, and let me tell you, unlike 12 minutes, this is a really, really good time loop game that rewards you for curiosity and makes you feel like a fucking G when you figure some shit out.
Makes you feel like an absolute genius.
Yeah. So I've got some gameplay here. I will say that the more you watch this game,
I mean, we are going to dive into like spoilers because we want to talk about this game, but like, if you are in any way intrigued by this game, and you should be, because it is like, it's phenomenal. It's probably one of the best time loop games I've ever played, and just one of the best adventure games I've ever played. You should stop right now. We'll put a time code on, our discussion here, because the less you know about this game, the better it is.
Yeah, it's like going into a movie.
Even knowing it's a time loop game is like
it's like a little mini spoiler. Yeah,
mini spoiler. Yeah. So yeah, stop listening now if you don't want to. But yeah, this game. I think what I love most about this game is that you can finish the game from the beginning, from the very first loop, if you know what to do. There is nothing in this game in the way of like items or skills that you gather. The only thing that you gather throughout is knowledge.
Yeah.
And that knowledge is always, it's ever present. It's not like you need to discover something for you to be able to take advantage of it in other places. Like, if you know it, you know it. So it's sort of why, like, it's almost impossible to replay this game.
Yeah.
I thankfully have a Civ brain, so
likewise, I'll play it in 2 years too.
Yeah, I forgot. Like I knew how to trigger the ending, so I obviously didn't go do that. But I forgot a lot of the writing and conversations here and there, and even some like abilities that you need to know. I'd forgotten them.
Not so much abilities as much as just rules or things.
Yeah, rules of the world, sort of thing. But like, when I was when I was reminded of them, I remembered things like a lot quicker, and that's probably why my second playthrough was like quite
super
rapid.
Quick, yeah.
But yeah, it's quite funny, because at the end of it, you're like, oh, I see how I could have done this from the start, like just from the start, and it's all about like following these breadcrumbs to discovering this new information and picking apart the world and essentially learning about its rules to the point where you eventually have a means to stop. I wouldn't even say stop the time loop, because I don't think that actually happens.
No, it's more just figuring out how to break it, and or I suppose it's not.
Yeah.
Is it stopping it? It's just like moving the story forward, I guess.
I don't think it's stopping it. I think breaking it is exactly it, because I don't think you actually save the universe. I don't think you save anything. I think what happens is you accept that this is the end of this solar system, this universe, and you are no longer bound to trying to fix it. You have accepted that
it's a
it
good
is the
run. It's
end.
time to restart. Hit the reset
Yeah.
button on the whole universe.
Yeah, so okay, so this won't make sense if you don't know that this game loops every 22 minutes, and every 22 minutes the sun explodes.
Yeah,
and takes the universe with it. Yeah,
but then you wake up next to the campfire, going, and you remember what
it's a
happened.
real good
You've
line.
obviously you've retained your knowledge up to this point, and it actually sparked an interesting conversation. So one of the game's mechanics is, your ship is able to keep track of every breadcrumb you found, which
a very handy log.
Yeah, which is a very big question mark for me, because I'm like, I can remember the stuff. There's a narrative explanation. Why can my ship remember this? So I went and I put a post on Reddit, and people very quickly explained, like, your ship is made up of this ancient race. Well, if you've not played the game, there's an ancient race called the Namai who have temples and or scripts and things littered throughout the universe. But your little band of people have leveraged some technology and incorporated into the ship that you use to fly around. So that's why your ship is able to retain memory. But it works out very well, because that little mind map you get in your ship is paramount to figuring out, like, where to go next, what have I learned so far. And I think what's quite interesting about this game is that it doesn't give you anything. It really very much just gives you, the quick setup, like, hey, you're launching into space today, and that's it. It's very, very Breath of the Wild, in the sense that there are a few places you can go to, but you can go to them in any order you want. And I think it's just whenever I stop and think about it, I just imagine this team sitting, in a boardroom with a whiteboard with a whole lot of red yarn, like busy putting together this wild narrative where it's like, okay, we'll put this breadcrumb on this planet, which will point to this other planet, but we also put a breadcrumb to this other planet. So you could really discover this game in any fashion and order you want, and it makes sense. Like, you piece these things together, and it all just starts to come together in a very natural way. Like, I never went to a planet because it was, oh, like, this is the obvious next step. It is more thing of like, I haven't explored here. I know there's this one log mentioned that this one thing is here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I've actually found something else which leads me back to the planet I came from, but I don't have to go there. I can stay here. So every playthrough, I think, I mean, this is definitely one of those games I'm like, I really am genuinely upset that I cannot experience this again for the first time. Like, I had my experience. I'll never have that level of wow again from this game.
No, because it is every little piece of information you find is like a real penny drop moment. Like, like it opens up, like, you suddenly think of all the places you've been where you can apply that knowledge, and you're like, oh my god, what if I do that? Like,
and it's not complicated either.
It's not. I think that's the genius of this game, is that, whenever I speak about it, it almost feels like you have to be like super intelligent to even like comprehend how to play this game. It does a really, really good job of like prodding you in the right directions, like kind of where you need to go. There isn't a linear path, but it's like, hey, you've been here, but there's still stuff to discover here. Like, it will keep that in your log. Like, you should go back here.
Yeah.
Or like in your log, it will only keep important information, and it will highlight words that are important. In conversations, like, you'll be reading, but some word will be highlighted in orange, and it's like, cool, you should take note of that.
Yeah.
So it is actively trying to get you to the end of the line. It's not like, if you're not smart enough, fuck you, you can't see what we have in store. And yes, there is an element of like, you have to think quite differently about certain things, and you do have to have these like moments where you're like, oh, I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
But their examples of teaching you their mechanics, like their quantum physics, are very, very good.
Yeah. And it's like, super straightforward. It's just like,
yeah, it is. Like you immediately know, like, from the very beginning, when you're in the museum on Timberhearth, you learn about quantum superposition. So these are all like real. They're all theoretical quantum physics, like actual things that people are studying. And it's like, something is only in a place if it's observed. It's the whole Schrodinger's cat thing. Like, is the cat alive or dead in the box? You don't know because you aren't observing it at this time. So I think the thing that sold me on this game, like almost immediately, it was like 10 minutes into the game, is like going into the museum, and you see those quantum rocks from the quantum moon, they call it, and you see it, and if you turn away and look back at it, it's gone.
It's gone.
And then you turn away, or you turn somewhere else, and it's there. And as long as you're looking at it, it doesn't disappear. But as soon as you stop perceiving it, it moves, because like it can be in an infinite number of places because it's not being perceived. And it's like, that's the first big like rule of this world that you learn, and it's done in such an elegant, and like you immediately understand what it means. Like if I see it, it's there.
Yeah.
And then it builds off of that, like really, really slowly. Like you said, you if you take a photo of it, you can turn away and it will still remain there because it's still technically being observed.
Yeah. But it does that in a way that, like, so you just reading, you literally reading like a handful of lines of dialogue per area you get to. Like, I think that's what I appreciate about the game so much. It's not these heavy tomes of, oh shit, this person wrote five pages on their time here. I need to sit and read this, and there's the sentence that's important. I need to take photos of quantum items for them to remain perceivable. It's literally a thing of, it could be an exchange between two of them going, oh hey, I figured out that if you take a photo, you can perceive this thing past the fact, even if you're not looking at it. And it's literally a line. I go, oh shit, let me think. Oh, okay, I understand what I need to do with this now. It's just done so simply. It never,
and it's done in this cool way. It's like a conversation. It's like,
exactly.
I figured this out. You might find it interesting. And the person goes, oh, that's it's like these very casual conversations between this previous race.
One of my favorite things is when you are on one of the Ash twins. I can't remember which one it is, but you read an exchange between children. And
that's on the Ember Twin?
I think it's on the Ember Twin. And it's this conversation between children who play a game with the
anglerfish,
the skeleton of an anglerfish. And there's one sentence there which shares like, oh yeah, my mom says that they're blind. And you're like, oh shit, like this change, like now I can use this piece of information to go do this other thing. And it's
like, oh my God, the planet where those fish are alive and they keep killing me, now I know they're blind. And it's like, oh, I get it now. Like, I get why they're eating me, because they're blind, but they have good hearing. So every time I move my ship, they are honing in on the sound. It's like,
so
your brain just like explodes.
Yeah, but you get explicit examples like that, right? Where it says, okay, they're blind, and you know immediately like, oh shit, okay, I need to be quiet. But then there are things, so we've mentioned, all the quantum rules. And it's a thing of, you learn the rule, but you might not know how to apply it specifically until you have a penny drop moment. And I don't know, this game, I honest to God, don't know if I've ever played a game that's made me like really quite literally gasp out like, aha, or like, holy shit, I've just figured out how to do this. Or I try something and it works. And I'm like, oh my God, of course that works. It makes sense.
That works exactly how I thought it would. Yeah.
It's just so good at giving you these little breadcrumbs. And it doesn't, I mean, in some cases, like the anglerfish, it's very explicit, like they're blind, they'll hear you. But in some cases, it's like, here's a rule. Just think about it. And you go, oh, shit. And that, when those pieces fall into place, it's just, I haven't played a game quite like this where it gives me that feeling of like, oh my God, like I figured that out all by myself using.
And sometimes it's even lucky. Sometimes you do things and you're like, wait a minute, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And you're like trying to figure out what rule you accidentally stumbled upon. Like the first time I ever got teleported using those black hole like platforms, I was like, because I was just standing there, and next thing it's like whoop, and I'm like, whoa, what
did that happen? Yeah,
how did that happen? And then the number of times I went there and just stood there and just like, how do I trigger this? Like, do I have to boost downwards? Do I have to jump? Do I have to? And then it's like, oh wait, I'm only being teleported when this fucking sand column is passing over me.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but
it's
okay, now I know how to trigger this thing,
Yeah. But I mean,
and just like smart things, like you go to Giant's Deep And Giant's Deep is like probably my favorite planet because it's like this whole planet where the surface is just water, but it's got a current that prevents you from sinking. It doesn't want you to go down, but it also has these cyclones on the surface that will literally propel the islands on the surface of the planet into space, and then they drop down again.
Very wild.
But
wild.
if you've been to a certain research center on another planet, you'll know that the cyclones actually spin in two different directions.
Yeah.
And if you go into one that's spinning clockwise, you'll be propelled up. But if you go one that's spinning anti-clockwise, you'll be propelled downwards
Down into the
through
water,
the current that you otherwise previously can't pass. And it's like, oh, fuck.
It's amazing.
Like the moment where I figured that out, like you're looking at all the cyclones, you're like, okay, they're all spinning, and then you see the one that's spinning anti-clockwise, you're like, got it. I know exactly what I need to do now. Yeah.
It's just moments like that, because even that's a good example of you know there's a planet where, oh God, like I know I need to get to the core of this planet. I don't know how to get there. Then you stumble upon this one line of dialogue. You go, oh, it's that simple? Like, shit. Then you go have a look. Oh my God, there is a cyclone going
and it's so simple.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of my favorite things still is, so you mentioned the quantum moon earlier, and this moon that obviously moves around, and it's only there when you perceive it. So it becomes a thing of you realize after reading one or two lines of dialogue, I need to take a photo of this in order to land on it. But you land on it, and it's like, cool, I'm here, but I don't know what to do from here. But throughout the game, you know that there are 3 quantum rules, which you learn about in different places. You know there's 3, and it's just in very specific places. So here's rule 1, here's rule 2. So it's funny because I learned all 3 rules at, let's call it like the 10, 15 hour mark. And I always had them at the back of my mind. And it's like, okay, I know that, you know, I need to perceive a thing. I know if I'm in complete darkness, like I'll travel with the thing as long as I'm standing on it, but I don't know how to use this. And then I was on a completely different planet following a whole completely different breadcrumb. And then it just hit me. I was like, oh my God, can I close the door on that tower on the planet? And I promise you, when I did that, it's like this.
You watch the map inside there move. Yeah,
but
you're moving.
But this feeling of excitement of like, I'm actually figuring this out. Like I'm exploring now, and it's the thing of like, I solved it. I know how to travel on this thing. But then even that's not the full puzzle, because it's like, oh, I know how to move this tower, but
now
how do I get it to the North Pole or the South Pole, which is where I need to get it? Then it's another puzzle in itself of like, oh, I need to be on a different planet so I can move out to get the it's so clever. Like, honest to God, when I rolled credits on this game, I don't know, I haven't stopped thinking about it.
And it doesn't stop. Like it's to the very last point of the game where it's still teaching you things. Like, I remember right at the end, you're meant to gather all the instruments for the people at the fireplace, and the one I could not figure out for the longest time was like I think it's the harmonica that's orbiting those like red lights, and every time you walk towards them they go dark and you just like get respawned back. I was like, what the fuck, how? And it's like, no, you got to zoom in with your signal scope. I was like, I totally forgot I could even do that. Like, completely
amazing.
It's the number of like small little things, what it does with so few mechanics, in terms of like puzzle design, it's really something. And like you said, it's these small breadcrumbs that you need to, you know, every piece of dialogue is important. And not like in the way that, oh, if you miss one line, you're going to be stuck for hours on end. I never felt frustrated by this game because I always felt like there was a thread to follow. Like, if I'm like, okay, cool, I cannot figure out how to get to this place. Like the Quantum Tower on Brittle Hollow, which is...
Oh my God. I solved that so late.
To be honest, like, Brittle Hollow is probably the first planet most people go to, and it's probably the worst planet in the game, I think, because it is uber frustrating. It's very challenging.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn there.
I've spoken to a bunch of people who bounced off the game just from that planet, and I get it. Like, I just don't like that planet. But like the Quantum Tower there, you're like, the number of hours I spent at the beginning being like, there must be something I'm missing. Like, I'm not getting how to, and it's like you said, only way later in the game you figure out how to get to the top of that tower, and you're like, oh, I just didn't have the knowledge, or like I didn't understand this universe enough to get what I needed to do here,
I mean, that is a good example, because that is the one thing on my computer which just remained a question mark. Like I knew the quantum tower was there from, very early in the game, but just had no idea how to get to the top of it. And I mean, every time I visited Brittle Hollow, I'd pause there, be like, maybe I've learned something. I can get inside here. No, I can't. I'll come back some other time. Until most of my computer's mind map was like filled out, and I was like, I need to get to this tower. Like I'm just gonna go there and figure out how to get there. Like I'm not doing anything else. And it's funny because you could be there by accident and figure out, but I had it about a few minutes into it. I was like, hang on, Brittle Hollow breaks up. What if this tower falls into the black hole? I'm just going to wait for this loop. I'm just going to stand here. And without fail, that's what it is. You have to wait for the tower to break off, fall into the black hole of space, so there's no gravity for you to get to the top. Then you can get
to the top. Yeah.
And again, that's like mind blown. Like what a simple solution. That's all I had to do. Yeah, it's great.
It's so good. And on top of it, like you don't need to pursue all the threads. It's kind of remarkable. I think he said like the quantum moon is spoken about so often in this game, and it seems like the end goal, and then it ends up being a complete side
thing. Completely optional. Which
you get a lot of good story stuff from there because of the person you meet there, but you don't need it to finish the game.
But it was funny because that was one of the final threads on my mind map as well. It's like, okay, the quantum moon and this other big question mark. So I get to the quantum moon when I have that brainwave of like, oh my God, I can put the lights off in the tower. I figured out how to get to the North Pole. I'm there. I meet this person. I have lots of talks with them. And I'm like, but they didn't tell me what the next step was. There wasn't a clue here.
Only I was like, I've got to jump into the eye.
Yeah, which you do that. That's not what you meant to do. But then I rolled credits. I was like, that was just a completely separate optional thing that I figured out. Like, I didn't have to do that. It's not story critical.
I almost can't believe that, because it's like the conversation you have with the character on that moon is like one of the most incredible like parts of the game. Just like it's like because this race that came before you, they observed you like evolving from bacteria to like the race that you are now. So it's like almost like meeting your gods.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fascinating conversation. It's really, really thought-provoking. Like you learn about how the technology they created just sends memories back in time using a like trick they found with white and black holes. So there's this interesting exchange where it's like, are you actually coming back alive, or your memories are being shot back to a previous version of yourself? So is that still you?
Yeah.
Or is it another you? The you that you think you are, you've died. But if you had the knowledge previously, would you have died now? Like, it's a real mindfuck of like, what does it mean to be alive? In a space where time can be like messed with in this way. It's so good.
It's crazy.
I just want to give a shout out to actually I think the way that other race speak, I think is super cool. Like, so all of their writing is done in like little like circles,
spirals,
and then conversations branch off of there. So you can like, a conversation almost doesn't seem linear. It's like dependent on which branch you follow. And I just think it's such a
it's very clever,
clever way for like writing to work in a very alien but very understandable way. And my favorite part is the children's writing, you can see, is a lot rougher than the adults one, and you can immediately tell, oh, this is a child. Like, it's super cool. And then when I saw how they actually produced that writing, I was like, oh, that's cool. Clever. Yeah.
It's a good time.
What a game.
Outer Wilds, I'm really glad I made the time to play it. And that's like, it's a difficult thing because I think of, what are my top 10 favorite games of all time? And, that list is constantly changing. On a day I feel like, oh, this is my favorite game. Outer Wilds is definitely up there somewhere. Like one of my favorite games of all time. It's
just, there's nothing else like it.
And there's nothing like it, no game has made me feel like that. And if it has, it hasn't been for a very, very long time. That sense of discovery and awe, and I can't stress enough the number of times where I like literally exhaled or gasped like, oh my God, like I can't believe I figured this out.
I had a great time like just like experiencing it with you again, because the number of times you messaged me, you're like, oh my God, I figured this out. And I was like, I remember that dopamine hit. That was good. Yeah.
What a time. Yeah,
and I even had those again. Like I remembered the rules and whatever, but I made a conscious effort to like investigate every area completely. And I found things that I didn't remember. Like I told you, I was like, oh, I died in a way I didn't realize I could, because I just never did it the first time.
Yeah.
And I've read up on some of the endings, and I'm like, wow, there are a lot more like non-canonical endings that you could do that I've never done.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And some of them are so ridiculously complex to like trigger. And turns out you actually triggered one of those complex ones by complete accident.
Complete chance, yeah. I was like,
which is hilarious.
Yeah, you told me like this can happen. I'm like, oh, that happened to me. But
it's like, what? How?
Promise
How did
like,
you do that?
Complete chance. Like it was just, I was very lucky.
I'm so curious about the DLC for this game, because the ending is very, to me, very finite. It's an acceptance that this universe is dying, and it even fast forwards like billions of years, and it's like life continues. Like the whole ending of the game is like you are experiencing another Big Bang, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder what this DLC is going to be, because this isn't a game about like heroes and stopping the inevitable. It's just accepting the inevitable.
I'm pretty sure it's a prequel, but I mean, maybe it isn't, but I'm pretty sure it's a prequel about the Namai, and maybe the first time the interloper enters the galaxy, or you maybe figure out like, oh shit, the universe is gonna die. How do we safeguard? Which there are some texts
maybe them going through like building the Sun Station and the Ashtone project.
Yeah,
that'd be super fascinating, I think.
So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what other puzzles or aha moments they introduce now that we know the universe. Like it's kind of funny, because if it is a prequel, I'm going in with the knowledge of these are the rules of the universe.
That's what I'm most curious about, because it's like, surely there have to be new rules that they're going to teach you, because otherwise, well, yes and no. Like if you know the rules, maybe they can make things a bit more complex from the get-go. They're like, cool, you understand how this works. Let's see how well do you actually understand it.
Yeah. You never know.
I never expected this game to get DLC, so the fact that we're getting it, I mean, they were very explicit, like this is the game's only DLC.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can even make a sequel to this, because it just won't have the same effect.
No.
I'm super curious to see what the studio does next.
Yep.
Because this is their first game, I think, which is fucking ridiculous. Like, so yeah, what a game. Yep. What a game.
Outer Wilds. If you've listened to this, we're sorry we spoiled the whole game for you.
But yeah, I mean, you can probably still go play it and have
aha moments.
Yeah, you can definitely have those aha moments, because even, like I said, I played it again, and knowing some of the things, I still had these moments. I was like, oh shit, yes, that I forgot about that. That was great. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's a fantastic game.